Korean. And I thought I was on top of it, you know, and I opened up Instruments for the first time, and I saw some leaks, and I was like, okay, let's just figure them out. And, you know, I got done with my leaks in 4 hours. When the App Store launched in June, my buddy Patrick called me up. He's like, dude, like, App Store is like open, and we're like 8th place. I'm like, oh my god! I don't have the budget to be a big company and have a big marketing plan, but the App Store provides a single, solid distribution channel. And I feel like it's a meritocracy. It's opened the door for so many different people that have good ideas. You can be some guy in a garage, and if you're making a game that people really enjoy and has something to offer uniquely, it'll get noticed. I'm Steve Demeter, creator of Trism.
Okay, so you just saw a great example of this one guy. He built something on his own, didn't take a lot of money, you know, he just sat down, just learned the basics about iOS and really, you know, built something from the ground up and built a cool game. So that's just a good example right there. So just going a little in depth on what I mean by limitless when I talk about software is, in software you can basically represent so many different type of things, like any type of color in the rainbow, any type of color in like any painting palette, or you know, anything like that can be represented in 6 digits, which is called the hexadecimal system. And so this is great because you can like basically show any color you want on the internet. And so I just found that to be a very small like thing where it's like, you know, this is a great way to display some creativity. Obviously, you have different types of data. Yeah.
Well, how do they make it like from the computer? Like, you use a mouse, right? How do they make it compatible so that you can use your fingers and use a touchscreen for that? Is that like managed by hardware, or do you have to put some extra software elements into it?
Oh, okay. So he's talking about, you know, touching and everything like that. And so I think that's a good question. And Apple introduced multi-touch when they released the first iPhone, and that was the very first time we saw a very advanced multi-touch that really catered to, you know, our hands. And ever since that first iPhone, we've now seen the iPad, a lot of different type of tablets, now even touchscreen computers. And so that was first introduced with the iPhone. And I think that's more of a hardware than I think software aspect, but yeah. So going back to like what I was talking about, different types of data, you have numbers, you have characters, you have strings of characters, you have lists, you have dictionaries. There's so many different ways to represent the data that we want to communicate to other people, right? And so software has a huge landscape for this too. Obviously, you have animated graphics and real-time engines. As you saw in the game that he was making, you saw the screws turn like 360 degrees. If you guys play like, you know, FIFA or, you know, all those different type of video games, those use real-time engines, and those use a lot of physics to really simulate your gaming experience, right? And that's all done by software. So that just shows, you know, you can build all these huge three-dimensional worlds like right in front of your face, and it's very cool. So yeah. So where do I fit in? I've been into software for you know, about a couple years now. I think I started like when the first iPhone was released, because I really saw that it was a great opportunity to be like one kid and like build something that I wanted to see in the world, right? And so I just started building small type of apps, and then I just got like more involved. And then when I came to high school, we put together a development club, and then we started programming there, and so that's where I'm at. And then so at the end of my senior year, I was like, well, I have a free summer right now because after you graduate high school, you're getting into college, and you just have a free summer right there. And so I was like, well, why don't I, you know, try to build like a cool social app or something. And so I founded Dojo in June of 2014, and it originally was a group content curation platform that was really based on location. One of the features that really isn't shown in the social space right now is location. You have Facebook and you have Instagram and you have all these apps, but they don't really take advantage of the neighboring content near you, right? You can't really discover that on those platforms. You can just see what your friends are doing. And so we started writing the code very early June, and up till now, I've been working about I think about a year and a half now. We've written about 40,000 lines of code, like 15 different mock-ups for design, and we have 10 iterations done on our website. And you can see that with all these iterations, with all these mock-ups, you see that software changes. Based on what a user wants, you're going to want to update your application, you're going to want to update what you're doing, right? Just to make the experience as great as possible. And so up till now, the moral of the story really is software continues to change, and that's why I find it very, very compelling to get into it.
So basically, idea continues to evolve due to testing. Does that mean you make an idea and then everybody contributes in the club on it to create an app? Or?
So this is separate from the club. I founded this with a friend of mine during the summer. So just me and him, and we just crunched out the code. We crunched everything out in a couple of months, and we put together basically a MVP. This is what you call a minimum viable product. And what an MVP is, it's a very bare bones application to prove that your idea really works, right? You don't want to build an idea and then no one uses it, right? Because that's pointless. Then it's just going to be there. And so that's what we started doing last summer. And so yeah, I think I can show you I'll talk about what it's doing now. And so the very glaring fact about startups, what we're trying to do is 90% of them fail. You take 9 out of 10 of them, and only one's going to really succeed, either get bought out or really grow into its own company. And so when you talk about startups, you talk about a lot of risk. You really have to pour everything you have into it. You have to pour all your time into it, and you have to expect that you're going to fail. That's really how hard software is right now, because because we're in a very saturated market right now, and so it's tough to really get out there. So we did a soft launch in fall last year, and we picked up about 300 active users for about 2 months. But after 2 or 3 months, we dropped 200 users, and we only had 100 left. And so that shows you that when you're trying to build something, you have users, but then their attention span will slowly diminish, right? People may not want to use it anymore. People may not like it, and so we lost all those users. So then we were like, okay, what do we do now? And the best thing to do when you lose users is to really change the focus of your app and figure out what they want. And so, let's see. Yeah, so I'll quickly show you, I'll show you at the end actually, if we run out of time. But I'll show you how the app was about a month ago. Now we're working on a new version, and we're taking it to focus groups basically. What we're doing is we're going out to the streets, anywhere around here in Saratoga, and we're showing them our app, and we're asking them, what do you think of this app? Would you use it? What are the advantages you see to this app that you don't see in Facebook, Snapchat, or a lot of these other apps? And that's really the question you have to ask yourself would you use this idea yourself? You can't just build something and just build it because you want to build it. You really have to build it because you want to use it in your, in real life. And so that's how Facebook started, that's how Snapchat started, that's how even Amazon or some of these big companies started. Even for Google, Google's very simple goal was, we want people to be able to search for whatever they want. You're interacting almost with another human, you're almost asking them another question, right? So that was the very bare bones idea of Google. So what can you guys do? Yeah. So how do you start hacking, or how do you start playing around? I would say the best thing to do right now, because most people here are pretty young, but I would say, just start playing around with phones and tablets, and try breaking things down. When you see an application, think to yourself, how does it work? How do you send a message? How do you take a picture? A lot of these things can be broken down engineering-wise into very small tasks. And the best thing I would say is to just start playing around with stuff. Start looking at apps and start, just having fun with them. Second, I would say watch YouTube videos. And this is one that I really did a lot. I never really read any books early on. I find books to be very outdated at times. They're very hard to stay focused on, and they don't give you the ability to really implement, you know, practice challenge problems or something like that. So I think videos are the best. I mean, if you look at Khan Academy and stuff like that, look at the success they've had. And so I would definitely watch a lot of videos, and no books yet. That's really a strong point for me. And I would definitely start with beginning with the basics. I know a lot of you guys want to start like, you know, developing for the iPhone or for the Android phone or, you know, for tablets and stuff, but I think it really comes down to the bit. Yeah.
What do you do after you've already developed like iOS apps? Like, what's the next step after that?
Well, there's really only 3 platforms right now. You know, there's iOS, there's web, and then there's obviously Android. After you start developing applications, I would say, you know, start like if you really feel comfortable with it, I would say, you know, go looking for experience. Start trying to pair up with a buddy or something. Try building a bigger app. Try building like a social app or something that so many people can use, right? Or even like go like maybe intern for like a small company or something like that, and try to see the type of experience you can make back there. Because what ends up happening is in a lot of these big companies or these small startups is you are going to be confined to a very small space. You're going to have one very specific role, either to manage a small team or to like write software for a small bug or something. And when you're confined to this small space, you don't have the flexibility and the freedom to do whatever you want, right? You have to work in a team and you have to like really learn your craft. And so I mean, if you feel comfortable with it already, then start looking for experience, definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What websites would you recommend for like C, C++, like?
Okay.
What websites would you recommend?
So when you get to college and you decide that your major is going to be computer science, typically what they start you out with is C. And C is a very basic programming language that shows you a little bit about object-oriented programming, which plays a very big role in eventually iOS and a lot of these different platforms. So usually I would like interface with the terminal. I don't know if you're familiar with terminal, but you basically write your code on like a Word document or like a text file, and you can compile your code in what's called a terminal. And this terminal will basically run the code for you, and you can play around with it. And I'll show you this a little later if we have time. Yeah, so I'll get to it real soon. But what I would say is write a lot of code, practice a lot. You know, start with very small things. Like Hello World is, you know, very basic. Start with small things and get better. And then once you get good enough at Python and C, I would start looking at C++, Objective-C, Java, Ruby, and JavaScript. All of these are platform languages that professionals use to build, you know, the big apps out there right now. Yeah.
Suppose you've already got down the basics of Objective-C and you know like how to use it, put it in an app or two. Do you recommend like transitioning to Swift?
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know what Swift is, this was a language released by Apple, I think, a year ago. And yeah, I would definitely start looking at Swift. In fact, I'm kind of looking at it right now myself. Swift is very different from any of the type of programming languages, the very conventional programming languages. I think it's much more simpler. It's much more like English oriented. So even if you don't know how to read code, if you read Swift, you would be able to understand it because it is a lot like English. And yes, I would definitely transition to Swift. Because that is the future of iOS apps. And so, yeah, I would transition. So I talked a little bit about books. There are a few great programming books, but the majority of them are not great for the type of programmers that we are right now. You know, most programming books are really outdated because they're through print, and so through print you're going to have very outdated material, and software changes very fast. They don't cater to us really because they teach us the fundamentals, but they don't teach us the necessary tools to like go out and build something very fast and scalable, right? And so there's that. I think it's very too conventional, you know, like what you learn through that is things that you can't really apply to the real world right now. And yeah. So I'm gonna do a quick Python demo, and then I'll also show you Dojo right now really quick. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you guys the app since we have a bit of time here. Let's see. Okay, so let's unlock my phone really quick here. Okay, great. So this is the app right now, and see, it's loading. It takes a bit of time. So as you can see, you have different groups here, and so these are your little groups, and you have friends and people that are in the group, and you can post cool pictures and stuff like that. So we're gonna go here quickly to Quarto, and this is the dorm room I stayed in at Davis. And so what's cool about this is people in my dorm room can post to this group, and I can see all the pictures they're posting and stuff like that. And so see, you can see the content here and stuff like that. See, there's a picture. And what's neat about this app is you can upvote and downvote your content. So you can like it or dislike it, kind of. And basically, you can also repost them. So if I wanted to go, I can go repost this into a different group, which is pretty neat. That takes advantage of the retweet function in Twitter, if you guys seen before. Yeah.
So, okay, this Dojo, it seems like a lot like the other social media apps. Why would I want to, like, me, I'm the user, right? So why would I want to use this app besides the other apps with a lot more people in it? So what makes this app special?
That's a good question. So if you're the type of person that likes to discover content, not really like interact with friends and stuff like that, you want to go see what's near you, I think it's a great app because what we do is we have our own algorithm for determining if dojos are near you. As you can see, you see the nearby tag right there at the very top. So you can see groups near you, and you can go join those groups and like post to that group if you wanted to. So it's really a great way to develop connections with people that you wouldn't know. Like, I mean, through Facebook, you're connecting with people that you know, right?
Yeah.
You're not really connecting with people you don't know. So that's a very cool thing. You can also chat with people here. So I can say, hello. And so this is all done real time with a JavaScript backend using Node.js. And, you know, this is also something you can, so once you learn those advanced languages, you can pick up learning how to use these libraries. And these libraries let you do very powerful things like chatting with people and stuff like that. And so each person has their own profile too. So I can go to, let's see, this person's profile, and I can see everywhere they've posted, you know. Okay, this guy's only posted once, but so I can see all his posts, and I can see who's following him too. So each person has their own profile. It's cool because you can have your own identity and also have like an anonymous kind of thing because it's all username based. Yeah.
So, do you use multiple programming language or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which ones?
I use so Python, MySQL, and Amazon's external libraries for the back end, and then for the front end, this is all through iOS. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Isn't this also like kind of a giveaway personal identity? Because like you're just like connecting with random people you actually don't know nearby you, without actually like getting to know them.
Okay.
So isn't this like kind of like touching on like the subject of like personal identity and someone to like hack?
Yeah. So so each person has a username, right? So they don't actually give their name. And so I think that's pretty cool because you're not completely anonymous, but you're not also completely, you're also not giving your name, right? So it's like a great in-between that we thought was great to add to the social space. Snapchat does this now too with usernames and everything like that. And so, yeah. And then we have like a little news feed here, so whoever you follow, you can see where they're posting to and everything like that. And something to be aware of also is, when you come to these big companies and stuff, they tend to like to patent what they've built. Like Snapchat, like if you hold down to take a video, that's all patented. So as an app, we're not allowed to do that. If we add that type of feature, they will come after us and we'll get in trouble and everything like that. So in order for our camera, what we did was we developed a different way to do it. And so you can literally slide here to take a picture, or you can slide that way to take a video. And so like you can take a picture like that and you can type a message. You can also draw and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's also something also to consider. When you're like a small like startup and you're trying to build something very cool, you have to look at, oh, what's near you? What are your competitors doing and what have they patented and what have they set as theirs? And so yeah, that's basically Dojo about like 3 months ago, but we're gonna release a new version soon, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about the new version. Never mind.
Okay. So now I'll do like a quick Python demo, I guess, just to show you guys a little bit about Python. I think it's pretty cool. So really quickly. Okay. So when you guys start writing Python, what I would really recommend you guys do is really become familiar with this terminal. What it lets you do is it lets you interact with your program, really. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file here, and I'm going to use Vim, which is my type of text editor that I use, and I'm going to call it, let's say, info.py.